Hey, what's up, guys? Alright, so this chapter of Black Clover was pretty much just all action, and it was actually really short. And it's pretty much just here to showcase even more exactly how much stronger assets become after the half-year time skip, which is a lot of fun to read, but when it comes to making a review about it, it doesn't leave much to talk about. But that being said, we did get some insight or some new insight into the mindset of the people from the Spade Kingdom. Because in the last chapter, it seemed like they were a little bit fearful and they're a little bit trying to resist the soldiers from the Spade Kingdom putting them inside that chamber. And then in this chapter, after we see Asta come into the Condero and defeat the initial three guards who were in that room, basically throwing the civilians into that chamber so their mind could be drained into their death, he tells them, hey, listen, I'm here to save you. And then the response he gets back from all the kidnapped civilians is, we are civilians, or we're citizens of the Spade Kingdom. Our lives exist to be nothing more than livestock for the Spade Kingdom to prosper. Basically, they're saying, hey, it doesn't matter if you're here to save us. We exist for nothing more than to be sacrifices. So basically, the civilians from the Spade Kingdom are so conditioned into their own mindset of that they are nothing more than sacrifices, that even when they have hope of being rescued right in front of them, they can't believe it and they actually outrightly reject it. And it's kind of like the mind controlling from the Diamond Kingdom, only it's more natural, because as we saw in the Diamond Kingdom, they condition you into a controlled mindset by basically subjecting you to a lifetime of experiments. And in some rare cases, like with Mars, they use those gems to control your mind to kind of rewrite your memories. Now, that being said, it seems like in the Diamond Kingdom, from our experience anyway, that this is a rare thing. This is something that happens widely nationwide. It's something that only happens to like some of the elite soldiers, or some soldiers that they take from childhood that they've been experimenting on and raising to be elite soldiers. Again, like with Mars. While in the Spade Kingdom, it seems like every civilian grows up with the idea or the conditioning that if your magic is low tier, you exist to be nothing more than a sacrificial pawn for the higher tier mages in order for them to prosper and the entire Spade Kingdom to gain superiority over the entire world. And you know what, speaking of the tiers, what exactly is considered high tier and low tier in the Spade Kingdom? Because the way that these soldiers were talking in the last chapter, they were all talking like they were high tier mages. But in this chapter, the way Asta easily dispatches all of them with basically just one hit each, it makes me think that they're most likely closer to 7th tier, possibly at the highest 6th tier, which personally I would still consider a low tier. So I noticed two things about Asta in this chapter. First off, I noticed that seemingly his hair is actually a little bit longer. I didn't notice this in the last chapter, but looking at his hair in this chapter, it seems like it might actually be a little bit longer than it was before the time skip. His hair looks more like Vegeta from for Dragon Ball Z than it did in the previous chapters before the time skip. But other than that, I also kind of noticed that Asta seemed like in this chapter he kind of matured a little bit, like he's calmed down. Because when the civilians were telling him that basically they are there to be livestock for the Spade Kingdom, usually in that situation I would expect Asta to kind of start yelling at them and like try to inspire them and be kind of like basically stumble on his words, but still try to his best to inspire them to be more than that and to give them hope. But in this situation, instead of doing that, he kind of just sits there calmly, listens to what they're saying, and then just subtly tells them, hey, you don't have to be like this anymore. I'm here to save you. And I'm going to prove that by defeating every soldier in inside the Cadero and then coming back for you. And even when he's fighting against the soldiers in the chapter, he's not yelling, he's not screaming at them. In fact, he only screams, I believe, at the end of the chapter when he's fighting off against the big boss. But other than that, he's pretty calm throughout the entire chapter when he's defeating all the soldiers. So I don't know, it seems like in this chapter, Asta is a lot more calm than he usually is in these type of situations. Now, like I said, this chapter is pretty much here just to showcase exactly how much stronger Asta has become over the half-year time skip. And to start things off, he actually ends up using all three swords in this chapter: the Demon Slayer, the Demon Dweller, and the Demon Destroyer. But there's pretty much no new techniques or moves that Asta uses in this chapter. He pretty much uses all three in ways that we've seen him use before. The only thing I can kind of say maybe is kind of new is his Dark Slash attack that he uses in this chapter to dispatch, I think, 3 or 4 soldiers. I'm not 100% sure if Asta's ever used that before, and I could be wrong. He might have used it in a previous chapter, but it seemed like it might have been new. But at the same time, I feel like I've seen something like that from him before. So let me know in the comment section down below if you know whether or not that actually is a new move, or that's actually something that we've seen him do before. But other than that, the only thing that could be considered kind of new is that he uses the Dark Divider in the chapter by the end of the chapter to fight off against a big boss. and he, in a different way than he did previously, basically he actually makes it enormous when he goes to not only destroy the big boss but also destroy the Cadero at the same time. And that's pretty much where the chapter ends, where after he defeats the big boss, who actually has poison magic, poisons Asta, and then Asta uses the demon Slayer sword, demon destroyer sword, in order to get rid of the poison. He activates his black form, uses the dark divider, and basically destroys him and the Cadero at the same time. And basically succeeding in his mission of stopping the Cadero and rescuing the civilians from all the mages in Spade Kingdom that were keeping them captive. Now, it's cool that it has to save the day and everything, but this chapter left me kind of wondering. Or he said that after he defeated all the civilians or all the soldiers inside the Cadero, that he was going to save the civilians and get them to safety. But he literally just destroyed the machine that was letting them travel through the Grand Magic Zone safely. So how exactly does Asta plan on getting them out of there? And the only thing I can think of is that maybe he's going to call on Finral or maybe Noel to use their magic to safely transport the civilians out of the Cadero into the Heart Kingdom. But other than that, unless he's planning on doing that, I can't think of any way Asta himself could transport them to the Heart Kingdom or to a different kingdom like the Clover Kingdom safely without having to suffer from the effects of the Grand Magic Zone. I mean, sure, we know that Asta was able to travel through it safely, but these normal civilians would possibly end up dying if he tries to get them through there. Unless, of course, Asta develops some kind of anti-magic ability that will allow him to protect the civilians as he transports them through the Grand Magic Zone. Which actually would make a lot of sense now that I think about it, because he was able to travel through it by himself without suffering from any of the effects of the Grand Magic Zone. So maybe he actually does have some kind of ability that would allow him to transport all of them through it safely, maybe one at a time or all of them at once, who knows. But we'll see exactly how he ends up saving them in the next chapter. And you know what, speaking of the next chapter and basically the next part of the arc, I'm not exactly sure what's going to happen next and what I actually want to see more of. Because in the last chapter we set up the whole mystery with Yuno, but we didn't get any payoff to it in this chapter. So we still have that to go forward to with the next arc and the next storyline. And then we also have the idea that the Diamond Kingdom was mostly invaded and controlled now by the Spade Kingdom. So we could potentially be going into the Diamond Kingdom next in order to rescue them and free them from the Spade Kingdom. And then at the same time, we had the Spade Kingdom trying to invade the Heart Kingdom, so we could see more of that. And we still had to introduce all the other characters who have been training through this time skip, like Noel, Finral, Mimosa, Charlotte, all of them who were basically on the roster in chapter 227. So we still have that to look forward to. And I'm not exactly sure myself what I want to see next. If I really had to be hard pressed to give an answer, I would say I would want to see the main five that were in the Heart Kingdom training go into the Diamond Kingdom and work to basically helping Mars in saving the Diamond Kingdom from the Spade Kingdom. That way we have a new ally when they actually do end up rescuing the Diamond Kingdom from the Spade Kingdom. And then the Spade Kingdom, or not Spade Kingdom, the Diamond Kingdom, the Diamond Kingdom and the Clover Kingdom and the Heart Kingdom could all three work together into defeating the Spade Kingdom. But you know what, now that I think about it, I think that whole like saving the Diamond Kingdom can actually take a back burner or take a back seat to what should come next, which I think is actually the whole mystery behind Yuno. Just because I feel like since that guy who has some kind of connection to Yuno was so barely introduced in the last chapter, that if we take too big of a time gap or too big of a wait to get back to that storyline, a lot of people will forget that actually happened. And once we get back to it, people will be kind of confused exactly, oh, what's going on with this? Who's this character? And, you know, I feel like a lot of the excitement from that setup in the last chapter will be lost if, like I said, we take too big of a gap into getting back to that. But that's pretty much it for the chapter, guys. Like I said, there's not really much to go over because it was just a heavily action-oriented chapter that was basically just here, like I said, to basically show off how much Asta has grown over the half-year time skip. Now, this makes me wonder, are we going to get similar chapters like this with all the other characters? Or is every other character going to get like a chapter and a half to show off their new skills and new abilities against, you know, weaker opponents? Or will we actually end up waiting until they have credible threats to fight off against and then use those chapters to basically show off exactly how much stronger they become? Because no one in this chapter was really a credible threat for Asta. Even the boss at the end, Asta didn't need to go into his black form and use the Dark Divider in order to defeat him. Realistically, he could have done that in his base form, but he wanted to put some emphasis on "you're fucked." So Asta did put out all the stops, or at least seemingly put out all the stops. We don't know exactly how much stronger and how much more powerful Asta has become over the time skip. So for all we know, the Dark Form and the Dark Divider could be lower tier attacks now at this point. Oh, and also before I end the video, I'm sure a lot of people are going to mention the fact that the demon that rests inside Asta was shown at the end of the chapter, kind of shadowy over top of the Cadero. I don't think that's really anything, prominent. I don't think it actually has any story relevance. I think that was basically just there to show Asta is the new demon, or like show off Asta's powers. It's basically there to symbolize the fact that Asta was the one who destroyed the Cadero. I don't think the demon's gonna be coming out anytime soon or taking over Asta's body or anything like that. It doesn't. I don't think it has any story prevalence, so it's not really worth talking about just yet. Now, the demon ends up doing something like trying to make a play for Asta's body again, or if we get some interaction between the demon and Megikulo, once we actually had the two interact, then I'll talk about that and see if this actually has any relevance to that. But as of right now, I don't think this scene has any relevance to the overall story. But anyway, guys, that's pretty much it for the video. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, drop me a like, subscribe to the channel. I would greatly appreciate it. Comment down below with your thoughts and theories, and I'll catch you guys next week. Peace.